Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Well, hello. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited for this episode here because, you know, we're talking Avengers Endgame on this episode. And so we decided it would only be appropriate if we assembled our own Avengers, or at least an Avengers-sized team of people to talk about the film with us. So,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But, you know, of course, there's just no way we could do a Marvel movie, let alone the fucking conclusion to the Infinity Saga, without our resident Marvel expert, Mr. Henrique Jaime. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, guys, I'm good. I'm ready to talk about some Endgame.
Me too. With us as well is previous Watch, Review, Repeat guest and my brother, Jordan Brown. How are you?
Hey everyone, I'm going well. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that I've finally achieved all-star status and finally made the cut for a Marvel movie discussion.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Thanks for joining us. Also with us, Ink to Film's very own James Bailey. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. We're happy to have you. Yeah, of course. It's a fucking party up in here, man. I love it. Last but not least, I'd like to issue a very special welcome to first-time guest to the podcast, Groot.
Huh?
What?
I am Groot.
It's not. I didn't actually get Groot. I'm sorry, guys. I tried, but those Disney lawyers, they weren't ready to part with them.
They can part with their paychecks, but not Groot.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So, you know, all kidding around aside, I think we're in store for an amazing episode. So, on that note, what was that? You guys heard that, right?
I heard that shit, man.
Mr. Watch, Review, Repeat, something's happening. Oh, man.
Hey guys, I don't feel so good. I don't know what's happening. I don't want to go.
What the hell is happening?
Thanos did it. The Mad Titan actually did it.
Oh, God. Welcome back to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name's Colton Brown. Joining me is Andrew Meadows. And still with us, fortunately, is Henrique Jaime. So, perfectly balanced. I wouldn't say so. 5 of us started. We came out with 3, so I guess maybe we're fortunate to have the 3 of us still here.
We're all still here. Yeah.
To talk Avengers Endgame. But I guess that's the world we live in.
We got to carry on for the rest of everyone.
We have to move forward. There's no other way to move.
We have to move on. So I guess move on we shall. No need to dwell on the past, I suppose. Although we are dwelling in the past of Game of Thrones, I will say that. I made a promise. I don't know if I actually definitively promised it, but on our Star Wars Celebration episode, which was titled Hellboy, it also featured some dialogue on Hellboy, which, as a side note, still fucking awful. Do not watch it. I think I either promised or said that I would put out, we would put out some Game of Thrones content. I think season 4 was supposed to be on the regular feed prior to the release of this episode that you're listening to now, our Avengers Endgame coverage, but that didn't happen. Exams got in the way. Unfortunately, half of life might be snapped out of existence, but my 4 exams did not get snapped
The professors are still present in your life, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So we were not so fortuitous with how that worked out. But needless to say, that's been a big constraint of my time, and I know where my priorities lie. I think that's a good thing. So there's been a delay on getting that out the door. We are continuing our rewatch. Andrew's probably finished with all of it, if I had to guess, or at least close to it, at least a lot more further than I am. But we're going to be we're recording on season 6 shortly. Of course, we're caught up on the new season, which we're not going to talk about on this episode. We'll have a big episode on that when the final season concludes in a few weeks' time. But the hope is that we'll get the seasons 4 and 5 episodes up on the regular feed as soon as possible, because we have recorded those. They are available if you're interested on the Patreon feed. They've been up there for some time now, and if you're interested, $2 a month gets you access to all of our episodes on the Patreon, which is located by heading to our website, watchreviewrepeat.com, clicking the premium tab in the top left, and then clicking the become a patron button. So that's Game of Thrones. But we're not here to talk about Game of Thrones. We're here to talk about Avengers. And so I turn it over to the surviving Avengers here in the room now. Do we have any fun facts that we're ready to share with the audience?
I have a fun fact.
All right,
Oh, yeah?
do tell.
My fun fact is I'm going to give it over to our local Weather News Network channel man who is present through all the Marvel hurricanes, and that is Henrique.
So I think this is a minor fun fact, but it's something. So this movie that we're talking about today, Endgame, it actually is the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to feature an openly LGBTQ character. It's a very, very minor role. Just like kind of some lines in there. If you've seen the movie, you might have picked it out, but he's played by Joe Russo, one of the film's 2 directors. So it's something, Marvel's moving forward. Who knows who we'll see next? But it's something.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it didn't actually make it into the cut, so I believe your fun fact is in fact true, but I believe there was a scene in Thor Ragnarok where Valkyrie would have been confirmed as openly bisexual, that just didn't end up making the cut. Not because of the content, for that particular reason. I think just for pacing reasons or some other thing that came along. But yeah, it's nice to see just a very small sliver of representation, and well, as we'll talk about in just a little while, and one of the biggest movies of all time, potentially the biggest movie of all time, if the box office has anything to say about it.
Box office breakdown, because it's fucking ridiculous.
We are. We're gonna talk about some other things first.
To be fair,
be...
I'm slightly inebriated, and I would like to fucking talk about box office breakdown.
This man wants his box office.
I understand, but we got to keep everyone in suspense.
Reel it in, that's what you're saying.
And well, we got some other stuff we got to touch on before we get to Avengers. I mean, this is going to be, I don't think this should shock anyone. This will be a long episode. Let's put it that way.
It's a 3-hour movie.
I don't know how long it'll be. Will it be longer than the movie itself? I'm not discounting the possibility. We'll see. Of course. But I think in the interest of keeping things, going, we're gonna move on. Thanos did exactly what he said he was gonna do. He wiped out 50% of all living creatures. But you know what? We just got to move on. And so we're gonna move on. It's to quote
The Black Widow.
The Black Widow. That's correct. That's correct. So yes, we're going to talk about some news. Oh boy, we've got at least one piece of news in here that's full disclosure. I was hesitant to record this episode on this very night because of my exam schedule. We're actually recording after I just took one of my exams, so it's kind of a gap where we were able to slot it in quite nicely. But there is a piece of news that really pushed me over the edge, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, we got things to talk about, don't we? But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Well, hold on.
Oh fuck!
I ruined the segue. I apologize for ruining the segue. But I wanted to probably deal with, I think, the heaviest piece of news. to start with, and that is the passing of John Singleton, director John Singleton, who passed away at age 51. And I myself, not overly familiar with the man's work. I believe his first movie that he ever directed was Boys in the Hood. I believe he wrote it as well. But other movies that you might have seen, might have heard of, that the man did was the 2000 Sam Jackson Shaft, Too Fast, Too Furious in 2003. And he's worked on some TV stuff more recently prior to his passing, but certainly sad. I mean, 51 obviously is way too young to go, and obviously, all jokes aside, not related to any snaps or any Thanos dealings or anything like that. So, I think it's certainly a sad thing to say. I think, Henry, you said that you just bought Boys in the Hood as kind of a response to this. Is that right?
I did, yeah, because I have to be honest, I haven't seen it, and it seems like it's one of those that seems like pretty essential viewing from the 90s, so I figured, might as well honor him and check out his first movie, which is, I believe has received a lot of critical acclaim, and just for the political topics that it tackled at the time.
Yeah, I've heard the same. Myself, haven't seen it as well, but certainly something that sounds like it would be worth checking out, worth visiting. So rest in peace to John Singleton. Now, to break us out of that and to just create even more tonal whiplash with this episode, we're a bit all over the place already. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about the elephant in the room? Do you want to talk about the speeding hedgehog in the room?
Sonic the fucking Hedgehog got its first trailer today.
Oh boy!
Yes,
And boy,
yes,
is
it
it a
did.
trailer. I don't think I've been more just excited about anything other than this movie.
Hold on. Do you mean you're like leading up to the release of the trailer, or now that you've seen the trailer, you're like, oh, I'm fucking all in, baby? Like, where are you at with this?
No. I just wanted to see a trailer.
Okay.
And now I have.
And now that you have, where are you at with it? What's your headspace
I'm in
like?
the same spot. This movie, I don't know how this movie is going to turn. I think it's going to turn out to be total dog shit. I think it's going to be terrible. But I do think it will be better than Hellboy, because I think it will be hysterically fucking terrible. It looks really fucking bad.
I don't know what to say about this. I really don't. I mean, Jim Carrey, we've been looking forward to seeing the fucking Jim Carrey as Robotnik, and we got plenty of Robotnik in this. Interestingly enough, he seems to be sporting a few different looks throughout the film. We have the proper Eggman look at the end, which is fucking golden, I thought. But there's parts throughout the trailer where he's like it seems like 90s Jim Carrey, like he's like Ace Ventura in it
Totally.
and in some ways, like he's
But less intensity. There's less intensity there. Like he tries to. It seems like Jim Carrey tries to hit the same notes, but he's not quite hitting them.
It's like older Jim Carrey trying to bring back like that 90s.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey.
I think there's probably an element of that, and there's probably also an element of like, I mean, you can't like. It's one of those things I think everyone involved in this project knows what a piece of shit it is. I don't think anyone in the room doesn't understand that. And I think Jim Carrey is also part of that. Whereas I feel like with Ace Ventura, there was like an actual authenticity to how ridiculous it was, instead of like, this is so dumb. I feel like there's a difference there. There's a real genuine aspect to the Jim Carrey's performance in Ace Ventura that seems to be lacking here. And then there's everything else in the trailer, from the Sonic design, which is as hideous and monstrous as we expected it to be from the leaked concept art or whatever it was that came out. Just horrific. I mean, what the fuck are they thinking?
How does he dodge all those rockets, but he doesn't dodge a dart?
I don't know. The proportions really bother me on Sonic. Like, I just don't know what they're thinking. I don't know if I want to know what they're thinking. Like, no. I don't want to know what the thought process is behind any of the creative decisions in this movie. But it is absolutely fascinating. On the other hand, of just like it really feels like a trailer for a fake movie. Like it feels like a IGN April Fool's kind of thing that they whipped up on a Sunday afternoon, and a few interns worked on it, and they're just like, people are gonna eat this shit up. But this is an actual movie.
Yeah.
And it's just
gonna
like
be really fucking bad. It looks like it's gonna be really bad.
And I actually do agree with you. Like I think there is going to be a certain level of humor to it, just because of the ridiculousness that something like hopefully there's at least enough self-awareness to it in a way that like Hellboy was like so up its own ass that it was just a miserable piece of shit. That this doesn't have that. Like you just take a step back and like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's kind of funny. If it has a certain Tommy Wiseau, The Room type quality to it, I think, it's got to fall into that so bad it's good tier. It has to. Otherwise, it's just bad. And no one wants just bad. So, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, it's about as good as the games have been, I guess, for the past however many years since Sonic Adventure 2, probably. I don't know. There's been a couple of good 2D ones in there. Sonic Rush, I think, was pretty legitness.
Yeah. I feel like no one will make fun of you for playing the Sonic games, but if you're like, oh yeah, I fucking love that Sonic movie, like someone's gonna make fun of you.
Was that Sonic movie? What was the Sonic game where he it started out with that cool music and he's flying down the highway?
Adventure 2?
Yeah, that was Adventure. Yeah, like those were fucking awesome, but those were legit almost 20 years ago.
20 years ago? Holy shit, how old are we? Oh, man.
It's been 5 years.
It's been a while. I mean, that was Dreamcast era. That was Dreamcast, so...
it's not good.
Late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere around there. Yeah, pretty crazy. Well, okay. So Sonic the Hedgehog, any last thoughts on the trailer? The beautiful, wonderful trailer that we got for it?
I've got nothing else.
No, it's ridiculous.
All right. At the same time, I will say it was worth recording tonight for, because we had to get the immediacy of our thoughts onto the record. I don't think this episode would be the same if we waited a week to record and talk about Sonic. Like this is hot off the presses. This is
go
today.
Go watch it yourself.
The trailer came out, and we had to tell you what we thought. And well, there you have it. I have some news I can talk about. Some news. Another trailer. A teaser trailer, in fact, for a DC Universe show by the name of Swamp Thing. Anyone see this teaser? Sounds like someone saw this teaser. So yeah, another live action streaming show coming to the DC Universe. They're a little streaming service they got going, following the likes of Titans and Doom Patrol, and it seems to be very horror focused. I believe it's produced by James Wan, who, of course, I think traditionally known for his horror background, but more recently probably known for his directorial capacity on Aquaman. And sounds like you're digging it, Andrew. Is that a serious take? Okay.
We're talking about the teaser where the Swamp Thing slowly comes out of the water, right?
Well, there's a full like minute and a half one that has more footage in it. I mean, it's not much more on the Swamp Thing front. It's mostly just him kind of rising out of the water and Swamp Thinging about and stuff. But there's like a minute of footage that's it feels like a horror movie. It really feels like a genuine horror movie in terms of the way that's shot.
Should, I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't claim to know a lot about Swamp Thing, but he is a supernatural force, and what I saw looked pretty intriguing.
Okay, yeah.
Which is enough for me. I mean, what else do I need to subscribe to the DC? Fuck Batman I have no interest in throwing my money at fuck Batman.
Well,
but,
as we've established, I'm gonna bite the bullet on that one and let you know how it is at some point. So I understand.
But Swamp Thing piques my interest enough to where I might want to pick up on that and see what's going on.
Throw a free trial out there, maybe a month's worth of subscription service. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's fair
enough. Where you at with this, Henry?
Yeah, I'd want to check it out. I'm not very familiar with this IP, but I've heard a lot of people talk about the comics and how much I like it. I think my roommate said it's his favorite, just comics in general. And then I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but haven't there been some production delays where it may be getting less episodes than they're originally planning for, like something like that?
Yeah, that's right. I kind of forgot about that. It's I think it was originally set to be 13 episodes, and then they cut the episode order kind of in the middle of production, so that it's apparently only going to be 10 episodes. And I believe that they're reshooting the ending or rewriting the finale to basically accommodate that. So I'm not sure exactly how. I don't know. I mean, that seems like a bad sign if you had to ask
makes
me.
A little worried.
You know, like I don't know if there was some rumors I think that accompanied that the DC Universe platform itself was in some sort of jeopardy, which has mostly been denied. Although they have confirmed the part of the report that talked about the cut to the episode order. So I don't know. I mean, rewriting something kind of on a whim that potentially loses 3 episodes worth of content seems like a bad move. I would say the only thing that could maybe make it work is if you're just writing it in a way that it feels more like a season finale and not like a series finale. Like if they're just like, oh, we just wanted a 10 episode season 1 and then it's going to do a season 2 that'll just kind of pick up with where they were going to, bring those 3 episodes to, then maybe that could work. But it is kind of a weird thing. So I really don't know what they're doing with it.
Andrew just sent over a great picture of Sonic. Not to go back to that, but yeah, Andrew sent over a great meme combining Pikachu, Marie Kondo, and Sonic all in one. It's really good.
I didn't have my phone near me, so I was just talking about Swamp Thing, and I heard this man just like fucking laughing up a storm, and I'm like, what's this motherfucker doing over there? But I've seen the meme. I've seen the meme, and I accept it as being funny. I will allow it. I will allow the humor on this one occasion.
I'm sorry. I'll try to
reel it in, bitch. Reel it in. No, it's all good. It's all good. So Swamp Thing coming out later this year.
Looks cool.
DC Universe. It looks. Yeah, I like the look of it. I'm already subscribed. So assuming that I don't cancel before then, I'll give it a go. Who's got news? Give me news.
I got something else.
Ooh.
There was a property that I know we all liked. Some of the creators of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, are bringing their Marvel universe that they're creating to television under Sony TV, and it seems like there's not too many details about what the shows will be about, other than it's just kind of, it seems like it's going to take place or some kind of in the same universe as Into the Spider-Verse. I know there's some weird legal rights with Spider-Man television. So I don't know exactly if they're making a new Spider-Man show or if they're just creating characters in that same universe. But I mean, I really like Spider-Verse, so I'm all in for this.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I'm kind of thinking about it. I read the article when it kind of broke, and I don't recall the exact logistics of it in terms of like if they've defined what the properties are. But really, if you are trying to set it in the Spider-Verse universe, you could probably give each character their own TV show in a way.
Yeah.
And I would be totally game for that. It'd actually be a pretty smart use of that. Of course, as long as we still get, a proper film sequel and such, which I don't think there's any changes on that front. I think that's certainly going to happen, especially with the critical reception and such that accompanied Spider-Verse's release. Rightfully so. My personal number one for 2018. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, Lord and Miller, solo issues aside, whatever the fuck happened on that set, we don't. Some Lucasfilm doesn't like to speak of it. Those guys have pretty much always delivered for me. Every product that they've made, every film that they've made, every property they've touched has been pretty great. So to see them expand with the Spider-Man lore seems like a natural fit. Seeing it on TV seems cool. As long as this doesn't jeopardize, Tom Holland and, Spider-Man Far From Home kind of continuing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then I'm game. Yeah, that sounds great. Obviously there's a part of me, that wants Disney / Marvel Studios to have as much creative control over their own IPs as much as possible. I understand that's not really super feasible with Spider-Man as it stands. But if Sony can consistently pull off anything, even like in the ballpark as Spider-Verse on a consistent basis, then it doesn't hurt my feelings that they're holding on to that property and making money off of it. Like, good for them. If they can fucking churn out consistently good products, why not? You know? So, yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'd watch the shit out of a like Spider Noir or even a Spider Ham solo TV show. Like, why not?
Wherever I go, the wind follows. Good. It's 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 good. All right. We have some news. Some more news
on Gemini Man.
On Gemini Man, starring
Will Smith.
And
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
And
Will Smith.
Who
Will
the
Smith.
fuck asked for this movie?
Did we just do? Wait, hold on. I think we say we intentionally divided the news up in this manner. So you deliberately chose the two fucking worst trailers out of the lot.
So I saw. I came into this kind of in the blue. I will admit. I saw on Facebook somebody was talking about Will Smith playing a young Will Smith, and immediately I thought, who the fuck asked for this movie? And then I watched the trailer, and it's like, holy shit, who the fuck asked for this movie?
Let me attempt an answer. It was not you, was it?
It was not me. I did not ask for a old Will Smith hunting the young Will Smith, or vice versa.
Vice versa. It's one or the other. I'm not sure who's hunting who. Well, I mean, it is from visionary director Ang Lee. Let's not forget that fact.
Who directed a Incredible Hulk movie, right?
No, he directed Hulk. Let's be very clear about which one he directed. I'm not going to say that either Hulk movie is exactly a masterpiece, but one is definitively worse than the other. And one features Hulk dogs. That's the one that's worse. In case anyone forgot about that little fun film from 2003, I believe. 2003. The dark days of superhero movies. The dark days. We're in the good times now. That was the bad old days. Now we're in the good times. We're in the good times now with Endgame. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we're in the good days. We're in the good days. Yeah. So I think I've seen this trailer twice now, both in front of both of my Endgame showings. I didn't watch it on YouTube. I don't mind Will Smith. I really don't mind him. But I am in the same boat of just like, I just cannot be fucked with this. Like why? Who? When? Where? How? All of these questions, no answers for any. It's just.
Who asked for the fucking movie? Gemini Man, starring Will Smith and young Will Smith.
Like, Gemini Man is a fucking Mega Man villain, not Will Smith, man. You know what I mean? Like, I thought we were getting a fucking Mega Man movie, you know, and instead I get Will Smith fighting Will Smith, and I don't know.
Mini dirt bikes.
It just looks bad. It's obviously not out yet, but young Will Smith has slight uncanny valley effect here and there in the trailer, and it's just like, we know de-aging technology can work. I mean, it was fucking like pitch perfect on Sam Jackson and Captain Marvel. So it can work for like a feature-length film. But it ain't working here. None of this is working for me. I thought this looked like dog shit. Not like Sonic the Hedgehog dog shit, probably like a cut
this
above
is like
that.
more serious. Like, I'm not going to laugh at this.
Yeah, and this is like probably verging on Hellboy territory of like two up its own ass. You know?
Boy dog shit is what you're saying?
I don't think it's going to be that bad. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that bad. It'd be hard for it to be that bad, I think is what I'm saying.
I have no desire to watch Gemini Man.
But I have no desire to watch it. I fully concur with your sentiments there. And that's all I have on that.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch Gemini Man. All right, we're not covering that movie.
I used to love me, and I mean, I still do love me the like old Will Smith movies. TV shows too. But this is not getting me excited. Like, seeing him in this and the Genie, I'm just kind of like, what are you doing, Will Smith? Like,
plus Suicide Squad a couple years back. Let's not forget about that.
Suicide Squad in there. Like, come on, man. I know you can make better movies.
Welcome to Earth.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
That's Gemini Man.
Let's
Who
move
wants
on.
to hear? Who wants to hear about some James Bond news?
James Bond?
Ooh, what do we got
007?
for James Bond?
Does
news?
that
Yeah.
intrigue anyone? Well, the Broccoli's, the Broccoli's, the producers of the James Bond films, had a little event the same day that Avengers Endgame came out. I'm not really sure why they did that. That seems like a bad idea.
Bad timing.
But they spilled some beans on the upcoming 007 outing, Bond 25, and they've revealed that it's going to be titled. Oh nope, they didn't reveal that. They didn't give us a title for some reason. But they did give us a cast. They gave us a cast. I'll give you that.
Is Idris Elba the new James Bond?
Idris Elba is not the new James Bond. The new James Bond.
Bullshit.
The new James Bond is a newcomer by the name of Daniel Craig. Some of you may have heard of him. He was in a little movie called Layer Cake,
It's the one
directed
dude.
by Matthew
It's the
Vaughn.
one dude married Rachel Weisz.
That's right. That's the one. Andrew's
My
not.
man.
Andrew's not
Yeah.
pleased about it, but that's fine. But no. So in terms of returning cast, obviously Daniel Craig returning for his 5th outing as Bond. I want to say sounds about right to me. Alongside Léa Seydoux coming back as Madeline Swan from Spectre. Alongside Ben Whishaw as Q, Ray Fine as M, and Naomi Harris as Miss Moneypenny. Plus Rory Kinnear coming back, and Jeffrey Wright, Felix Leiter coming back. I think first time he's been back in a few entries, if I'm not mistaken. But we got some new blood coming into the fold. Rami Malek, Oscar winner Rami Malek, is joining the cast to reportedly play the main villain of the film. And Ana de Armas, Joy, Blade Runner 2049.
Ooh.
Coming in as potentially a new Bond girl. I mean, Bond's got a little lady. Bond's got some lady friend action already happening, Léa Seydoux. But Ana de Armas,
If I was
that
gonna have a Bond lady, it would be Joy. I would say
Is she hologram Bay?
hologram babe.
Hologram Bay Joy. All right, very good, very good. Well, she's in there. Probably not a hologram. Maybe she. I don't know. Who knows what they're doing?
be.
Bond. She could be.
Fucking Bond.
She could be. Billy Magnuson, Dali Ben Salah, Lashana Lynch, who was Maria Rambeau, Captain Marvel, movie I just mentioned, and David Denchik, also joining the cast. Apparently, Bond is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica after leaving active service, but his peace is short-lived when his old friend Felix Leiter turns up asking for help, setting off a mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist, which turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond onto the trail of a mysterious villain armed with dangerous new technology. That sounds like the most James Bond synopsis I've ever read in my life.
That's so generic. Bond, yeah.
But I'm game. Cary Fukunaga coming in to direct this bad boy.
Cary Fukunaga.
Yes.
Someone just got very excited, but decided not to speak in the microphone when they were that excited. So yes, Cary Fukunaga is in fact directing this film. No Danny Boyle, but I think we've got a pretty good replacement director in Fukunaga. I'm very excited to see what he churns out. I think Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, writers of the past 17 Bond films are working on it, or on the script that is, and Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Bridge, also known as L3 from Solo, is spicing up the script herself as well. So that's Bond. That's Bond 25, which will be called something that's not Bond 25, if I had to guess. Reportedly, Daniel Craig's final outing is 007, I should say, before Idris Elba takes over the mantle.
So for the past 3 Bonds.
Or before we get Jane Bond. Oh, God, the internet would break. Oh, my goodness. It would be something. It would be something. Emily Blunt, anyone? No?
We're on board.
All right, so one last piece of news, right?
Yeah, I have one more trailer to talk about.
All right.
That is the Men in Black International trailer number 2. Came out with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. This is like a...
also known as Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, Thor and
plus
Valkyrie.
aliens. Wait, I guess there was already aliens in that.
Thor and Valkyrie fight the Skrulls, basically. That's what I got from this trailer. What did you think?
Valkyrie Bay, yeah.
feel like Andrew's a little one note so far this episode. We'll see what happens when we get to the goods later on. Fucking Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson are amazing together. I mean, I can already just get that sense from this trailer. Like, Liam Neeson's probably being racist in the corner or whatever, but like those two are. Sorry, I had to. Those two together is enough for me to kind of just be like, yeah, like Men in Black, like not my favorite franchise, not a bad franchise, I wouldn't say either. Just not one that like particularly gets me excited, one way or another. But seeing those two together, and seeing them leaning into, I think, maybe some of their stronger sensibilities, like Hemsworth when he's allowed to be humorous is so fucking amazing. Like the first couple Thor movies were really kind of like bland Hemsworth, and then Ragnarok, shit, even Ghostbusters, like it's Hemsworth like being fucking hilarious, and it looks like he's really gonna crush it in this one. And Tessa Thompson, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me. You might have been part of this conversation already. I believe that Tessa Thompson was my female equivalent of the Paul Rudd equation of if you do not like Paul Rudd, I do not like you. Does that sound like a familiar theory to anyone else?
I don't remember this, but I agree.
Yeah, So if you don't like Tessa Thompson, I don't like you. I mean, I think that's probably the bottom line that I'm going for, and I stand by that.
List one reason that's not related to sex or race about why you wouldn't like Tessa Thompson, and I'll listen.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can.
What you got? I would say I'll fucking drop the mic right now. You ain't got nothing, bitch. You ain't got nothing. Or email us. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. If you got something, email us. Sometimes we're lonely. We like to read emails sometimes. So I'm more in on Men in Black International than I was before. I was going to see it anyway with probably, middling expectations overall, but now I'm not going to say that I'm excited for it, because again, Men in Black's not something that just inherently gets me excited. But it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I would say some of the jokes in there landed pretty well with me. Looks like it sounds like Kumail Nanjiani is playing the little alien guy that's accompanying them on their little trip.
Yeah.
Which I think he's great as well. So I'm in on Men in Black International.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
So does that bring us to the end game?
The end game.
Are we in the end game now?
I think we're in the end game now. I mean, that up there, that's the end game.
As Henry has a Mjolnir across his fucking camera.
Well, it's interesting. So Henry has Mjolnir. Obviously, our listeners can't see this. We still haven't figured out video recording technology yet. But Henry's sporting a Mjolnir, and some eagle-eyed Andrews and Henrys can spot that I have one Captain America shield upon adorning my wall. So maybe we're predisposed to liking something like an Avengers Endgame. Maybe we are, but maybe a lot of people are too. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. As long as it turns out to be good, which maybe it did. We'll talk about it right now. Avengers Endgame, written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. I want to say their seventh movie for Marvel Studios. It could be something like that. They wrote all three Captain America films. They wrote both Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and co-wrote Thor: The Dark World. Is that 6? I think that totals 6. I know how to do math. Don't worry about it.
Checks out.
And it was directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, which makes their 4th MCU film, following the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, now Endgame. Starring cast. Shout out to Henry for putting the episode script together. He knew that I was studying for exams diligently, so he put a note here that it stars everybody that didn't die in Infinity War, which I guess should be. I guess we'll go ahead and say, if it wasn't already obvious, from everything that you've listened to up to this point. I mean, Infinity War spoilers are very much fair game at this point. It's kind of the baseline for this movie, walking into the movie, is what the fuck happens next. But the people that didn't die in Infinity War are Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Kind of sounds like the OG Avengers to me. Alongside Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Mohawk Bay, sometimes she's called, I believe. Bradley Cooper, Karen Gillan, Denai Guerrera, and Josh Brolin. So, Avengers Endgame forces the surviving Avengers to deal with the consequences of Thanos' victory in Avengers Infinity War. Our heroes have been brought low. What do they do? We'll talk about it in spoilers. But we're going to talk about the fucking box office right now.
Yeah.
The box office
You invest in some sound effects.
I think it's better if we just do it lo-fi like that. I think that works better. I mean, sound effects. It's too much work. We pay for royalties or something. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. This movie is making the most absurd amount of money I've ever seen in my entire life, or at least I've read about in my entire life. It is, I would say, probably stretching theatrical capacities to their literal limit in a way that we've never seen before. Henry and I saw it twice. We saw it together both times. We saw it opening night, saw it Saturday night, and I mean, the theater was a shit show. I think both times overall. We went to the same theater, one that's physically, not logistically set up for something like this, that invites the type of crowds that a movie like this does. But we'll talk numbers because, full disclosure, we all know I like numbers. Box office numbers, that is, not the other numbers. They're less fun. So just a quick refresher. We had an episode of Avengers Infinity War last year, which, if you don't recall, set the opening weekend record at $257 million, and it's 3-day take. It sounds like chump change to me. If Avengers Endgame, $357 million, one weekend in North America. What the fuck? It broke the opening weekend record, set last year, mind you, by $100 million. You know how many? Do you know how many Hellboys that is? Do you know how many Hellboys that is? I don't even know how many Hellboys that is. Hellboy's at like 20 million for its entire domestic run. It made so many Hellboys in like one day. And it's not America that loves it this much. It's not just America. It's everywhere. So I wish I had the actual exact number in front of me, but I believe that Avengers Infinity War, when it made its worldwide debut, set the international opening weekend record, or worldwide opening weekend record of 640 million. I just found the number as a side note. 640 million. That was the worldwide opening weekend record. The opening weekend record here was nearly twice that. $1.2 billion.
Disney
One
making bank.
weekend. Now, it had 5 days to play in China. It opened, I think, on a Wednesday through Sunday. Made over $300 million in China, mind you. One of the highest grossing films there already.
China.
But it's broken like something like 70-something box office records. Some fucking stupid number. I mean, this is stupid fucking money right here. Just the most ridiculous thing. I mean, breaking records in every market you can fucking think of. Every little record you can think of for like box office in America. It's probably breaking that. It didn't break the Monday record, I will say that. But it's also playing during the school year, so that has a little something to do with it. And it came fucking extremely close, which is crazy. And this thing scored an A+ cinema score, usually a pretty good indicator of how your legs are going to be. I don't know, man. Avatar might be going down. I'm not going to say it is going down,
But there's a chance.
but this is the absolute perfect storm right now for Disney, for Marvel Studios, for for the box office. You know, it's primed to do something like that. I mean, it's almost halfway. It's more than halfway to beating Titanic, which is the number 2, of all time, in terms of box office. So James Cameron, better step your game up for those 19 Avatar sequels you're working on, Bucko, because you've got an uphill battle possibly ahead of you. I hope it overtakes Avatar. As a personal aside, I think it's safe to say it's a better film. But I don't. This actually might be a legitimate hot take, not just a watch review repeat hot take. I don't think Titanic's a great film either. So if this sinks the Titanic, it would not hurt my feelings. So anyway, I mean, I could probably spend a fucking hour talking about box office in and of itself if you let me. But I won't let me do that. I'm not nearly drunk enough. I might be somewhat slurry. I might be a little bit sloppy, but I'm not that drunk. And so we'll leave it at that. And just Google it yourself. Like, if you're curious to know all the records, it might be there a while. But there's a lot, and nothing stops this train. I don't think. Maybe Detective Pikachu, but that doesn't come out for like another week and a half, so I'm thinking that's probably not going to happen either. I'm just, at this point, it's just, where does it end up? Where does it end up? It's already outgrossed in one weekend, like 75% of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like made 2 Justice Leagues in one weekend. It's made like 6,000 Hellboys in one weekend, or whatever it calculates out to, 600 maybe. It is. That's what it is. It is what I'll say. So there you go. The domestic opening weekend, the domestic record in general for box office held by Star Wars: The Force Awakens at $936 million. Very likely that goes down too. Very likely. I mean, this movie could approach. I'm not going to say it's going to cross, but it could approach $1 billion in North America alone. I mean, think about that. That's just fucking staggering. And I'm part of the problem. I mean, I paid twice for it already. You can bet your happy ass I'll pay at least one more time for it, if not a few more times after that. When those pesky exams get out of the way. Then they get out of the way. But let's talk non-spoilers. We're gonna have a lot to talk about in spoilers, so don't feel the need to get everything off your chest just yet. Certainly there's a lot of plot revelations and plot things, just plot that we're going to have to talk about in spoilers. But this is what Marvel Studios and company, Kevin Feige and company, are dubbing as the conclusion to the Infinity Saga. This 22 movie arc, 22nd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's pretty impressive in and of itself.
Pretty significant, right?
And it's really kind of just, not only is it a sequel to Infinity War, picking up with the shocking events, with Thanos snapping half of our universe out of existence. It's the potential conclusion to some of these characters' arcs. Maybe setting new threads for the universe to come. Maybe Galactus shows up at the end. He doesn't, but legally he could have.
But Wolverine does.
I guess it would have been a little tricky legally speaking. But yeah. So non-spoilers. Who wants to kick this conversation off?
Henry, kick it off.
All right, man. I feel like this entire episode, at least from my end, probably from all three of our ends, is just going to be a wild, as Jesus Amir would say, a wild dick flute solo, because I think we're just going to be singing praise for this movie. A
wild dick flute solo?
Yeah, just think about it.
I heard wild dick flute soliloquy for some reason, and I'm just like, I don't even know what that means.
Flute solo.
Means we're riding the Marvel dick pretty hard. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, giving it a dick flute solo. And anyway, so
like a blowjob. What is that? Is that a hand job? What is that? What does that mean?
No,
dick flute solo. Are you literally playing the dick? You're playing the dick flute.
Wild dick flute solo.
No, just
anyway.
it's a flute. You play it. Yeah,
We get it.
On a dick. I get it.
So
Okay.
I will start the solo off by saying that this is the best experience I think I've ever had in a movie theater. Watching this.
Oh, holy shit.
Ooh. That is a dick flute solo.
And for some background, I kind of like with Infinity War, I try to avoid every spoiler possible, including just watching recent trailers and whatnot. So I was like, I want to go in this. I don't know what happens. I just know Infinity War. I see enough news about future projects that I can infer certain aspects of the plot, but I really don't know what's going to happen. And I had some expectations, but I didn't want to hold it too high. And then this movie just surpassed my expectations. I feel like, not to get too psychological or anything, but I can't think of this many things that come around every day that brought me this much joy as these 3 hours of this movie did, especially the first time I watched it. Just fucking fantastic experience. I wish I could get the time stone, just go back and relive that Thursday night just over and over again, because it was that enjoyable for me. And it was a 3 hour. It was a 3 hour movie, but saw it twice. I'm gonna see it again. It didn't feel like 3 hours to me. I don't think it felt short, but I was never bored, or even the parts that weren't so action packed didn't leave me wanting more. So this had what I wanted and then some. But what were y'all's thoughts on this?
I would agree 100%. I don't think it played like 3 hours. One of the biggest complaints that you hear about, at least what I hear about with because I completely bring it up with everybody I talk to. Hey, did you see Infinity War? Because it is literally the biggest thing. I mean, it's a big talking point, really. Can I talk about it with you? And then they say, yeah, the majority of people say yes, because the majority of people seen it. I mean, box office reflects that, right? So, and I really don't think it plays like 3 hours, because a lot of the biggest complaints that I've heard is, oh, it's a 3 hour movie. And then when they say, oh, it's 3 hours, the first thing that I ask is, what would you cut out? What would you cut out of the movie? I personally feel that yes, it's 3 hours, but what can you cut out? And it's so chock full of shit. I don't think you can cut anything out, really. I mean, there's portions and stuff we can talk about in spoilers, maybe, but I mean, at the same time, I feel like it's critical to the tone of the film to keep it in there. So for the 3 hour film that it is, I think it's whole, and I think it's well made. It's for a movie that it did drive me to certain emotions at certain points. I think that it's I feel like it's complete as a 2-part movie. It really feels like a 2-part movie, and it feels earned. And I can't think of any other film that has stood on the shoulders of another movie like this has. And it's a really incredible experience. It really is, especially when you take a step back and you think about how this film has been built on not only the film before it, but the decade that it's taken to make this movie. It's a really incredible thing. I don't think there has been nothing before it. And it's I'm slightly inebriated, so I can't find my vocabulary. I will admit it.
This is a first. This is a first. I understand for our listeners, but just bear with us.
there is a it's a cinematographic thing, man. It's like it's an epic thing. This movie is an epic thing, not only because it's superheroes or this or that, but there has been no other film franchise that has went on for a decade plus years or whatever and delivered this sort of conclusion. And then not only the conclusion to the series, but led on beyond the conclusion. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
It makes sense to me.
There's no precedence for this kind of film.
Did either of you watch Infinity War kind of right? I assume sometime before, but like kind of right before watching the movie.
Yeah, I think we all did. I split it into a couple of nights to kind of balance it with my study habits. But I know Andrew. I recall getting some snaps from Andrew with some Infinity War footage contained within.
I fell asleep before the very end, but I got the gist of the whole movie.
Well, I mean, there's an important thing that happens at the end, but you probably didn't forget about that. So
no, I didn't forget about any of it. I just tried to rewatch it before the end of it, and that's what I got. And there was nothing missed. You know what I mean? I going into the movie, I knew exactly what I was going into. So it was more of like just more of opening up the book. Is what I was trying to do. Just trying to get a flavor for the, a fever for the flavor.
A fever for the flavor.
Okay.
Could I get a little bit? Don't looky. As soon as you said flavor, this song just popped in my head. Oh God, nothing gets you motivated to take an exam like "Fever for the Flavor" by Hot Action Cop as a side note. Oh God. Anyway, I think Henry, you were asking us about watching Infinity War because there was probably probably building to something as a response.
Yeah, I watched it the same day. Granted, not everyone has the time to watch a 2.5-hour movie and then a 3-hour movie in the same day, but I would say if you are listening to this section and you have not seen it, you just want to see like, is it worth my time kind of thing. Obviously you need to see Infinity War beforehand. But even if you've seen it, I would say watch it again because it really plays well, right after. It's like Andrew was saying, it's kind of like a complete 2-movie experience, obviously building on previous movies, but, these 2 movies like really work well together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna piggyback off of what both of you have said. This film, it's something that's on a scale, I guess I would say that's kind of hitherto undreamt of, if I had to say that.
Did you just say hitherto undreamt of?
But I mean, I really think that the scope of this movie, the scale of this movie, the epicness of this movie is, I mean, the hype that's built to this movie, 22 movies of storytelling leading to this movie, leading to this moment. It's a lot of buildup. And you see long-term serial storytelling in TV shows pretty frequently, and sometimes they stick the landing, sometimes they don't. This one is kind of somewhat unprecedented in its own territory, kind of as Andrew was saying, in the sense that like you don't really see anything like this. You've never really seen anything like this. The sort of long-form storytelling in films. And so it's kind of just like, okay, it's 3 hours. Great. There's a lot that could be packed within 3 hours, or it could be a Transformers film. Those are 3 hours and fucking dog shit, but...
You got a decade's worth of characters.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with that. It is something that's packed to the brim because it has to be. Because, as you said, there's no fat to trim in this film. It's all there because it needs to be there, because it's the conclusion to the Infinity Saga as Marvel is framing it, and so it has to be something that absolutely sticks the landing, and is satisfying, something that's surprising, that's interesting, and exciting, and it has to do all of that. And if the box office is any indication, obviously Marvel's done it pretty well. And if I could offer, if I could offer one man's opinion, that is my own. This is one of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had in the cinema. I think I'm pretty close to Henry in that regard. And also, as a side note, fortunately, we had a pretty respectful opening day audience, like audience, like great appropriate clapping and responses to fan servicey type moments and epic moments and cool moments and all that stuff. But like, not a single dickhead around us. It was actually really quite nice. It was about as pristine as you could hope for in a viewing experience, as optimal as you could hope for. And I think that kind of enhanced it. And I think what also enhanced it is the fact that we really didn't know a whole lot about this movie walking in. Even those of us that didn't have to spend, months, sticking their fingers in their ears saying la 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 la, anytime anything Avengers rolled their way. The Russos, Disney, whoever did an amazing job of keeping this movie
on lock, yeah,
as fresh for anyone, walking in. And obviously at this point now, if you're listening to this now, certainly by the time this goes up on the regular feed, it's probably too late. You've probably seen spoilers on Twitter, on anything like that. And that's disappointing. Obviously, if you haven't had the chance to see it yet, clearly you're not a part of the human race. But at the same time, there's enough in this movie. There's enough surprises in this movie. It's a 3-hour movie, and someone telling you one or two things on Twitter isn't going to capture this movie. It's not going to ruin the movie for you. There's so much in this that is shocking, that's exciting, that is just it's the payoff that you not only hoped for, but you dreamt of. This is the payoff you dreamt of. Like when you think of how do they do this? How do they pull it off? You're like, how do they do it? It brings everything and more. In my opinion, it's something else, man. I mean, hats off to Marcus and McFeely, the writers. Hats off to the Russo brothers. Hats off to Kevin Feige for giving a shit.
Yeah.
When it's clear that some people don't. When you live in a world where DC's output is spotty at best. When you live in a world where Hellboy gets released as a movie in the way that it did, it's like they didn't have to give a shit. Transformers movies made money, but they gave a shit, man, and you feel it. You feel it in every frame of this film, and in every moment. And
all the actors and everybody. I mean, it's...
and the actors too. Yeah, absolutely. The OG Avengers coming back. And they're not there. They're not there for their paychecks. And don't get me wrong. I'm betting a lot of money that they're getting some ridiculous sized paychecks. Certainly, RDJ is getting a ridiculous sized paycheck, if nothing else. But these are guys that some of them, Hemsworth. Who the fuck would know who Chris Hemsworth is if it weren't for Thor?
Yeah.
Chris Evans was the fucking Human Torch. Who thinks of Chris Evans as the Human Torch anymore? You know what I mean? When you think of Robert Downey Jr., what do you think of? You think of Iron Man. Scarlett Johansson. Is kind of had a pretty eclectic resume herself. But I think that most of these people in this movie, when you see them, I think any general audience sees them, they think Avengers. Those are the Avengers. Those are the respective characters in the Avengers. And they poured their heart and soul into this film alongside the cast, alongside the crew, alongside the writers, alongside anyone involved in this production. It was a clear labor of love, and it's something that
and it shows. It's incredible.
It really does show, and it's something in the immediate aftermath of it. I'm not sure if it's possible to be replicated. I really think this could be a once-in-a-lifetime type achievement. It's kind of just like, where do you go from here? I think that's kind of my, question at the same time. I also think, I don't know that I need anymore. I mean, obviously, I'm game for anything that Marvel puts out, but, they really tied a nice, tidy bow on it.
This
fucking nailed it.
This has been our... I mean, I'm 27. How old are you?
74.
74?
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Henry?
I'm only 27.
Yeah. I mean, you had to think this has been we have been building to this
for
moment.
over a decade now.
Over
Yeah.
a decade. The
Since
entry
we were
to
in
the
high school?
series, yeah, the entries to the series themselves just the characters themselves have been building to this one moment. I mean, for the greater part of, for over probably half of our fucking life. It's crazy. Like what? I mean, for over a decade, they've been building this one moment, and it's finally here. And this is the conclusion of that one moment. There has been nothing ever in movie history that has been presented in this way.
And when your movie makes $1.2 billion in a weekend, that is an indisputable fact. It is clear that this is something else. This is something that has never been seen before, and
it's a social phenomenon.
Many have tried to replicate the MCU franchise formula. I would say all have failed to some, varying degrees, but
Marvel has stumbled and failed at certain aspects.
Maybe
certain characters.
Maybe
the Hulk being the biggest one. But either way, this is something that is indisputed. It's unique unto this one thing, this one IP, and it's incredible. It's an incredible thing. And so for that aspect alone, you have to be part of the human race, and you have to go watch the fucking movie.
You got to watch it. That's true. We could continue our solo, our little dick flute solo
Exactly.
for quite some time here. It really is just a marvelous achievement, if you ask me.
Marvelous.
I really do think this is one of the most amazing achievements in Hollywood history. Obviously, the numbers reflect that, but I think honestly, just in terms of pure logistics of putting this fucking movie together, was shot back to back with Infinity War. Infinity War came out a year ago, I think I remember at the time, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I was just kind of just like, well, what do they do next? Like, and I was genuinely at a loss. Like, how do you go about telling the story? How do they top that? Those sons of bitches did it. They fucking did it. I don't know exactly where I'd put it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe pecking order. I don't think we need to broach that topic just yet. I don't know if we need to broach it at all in this episode. We can maybe do a rough ranking when it comes to spoilers, perhaps. But it's anyone that has any sort of stake in the MCU. Maybe you watched Iron Man back in 2008 like us. Maybe you hopped in late into the game when Infinity War rolled around last year, or somewhere in between. Maybe you've missed a few here and there. Maybe you didn't catch Captain Marvel because you don't know what's good for you, and you don't want that Mohawk Bay in your life. That's your mistake. That's your mistake, of course. But not too late to rectify it. As a side note to the box office story, Captain Marvel jumped up to number 2. So the top 2 spots were owned by Marvel Films, which is pretty awesome.
Goddamn.
It's something that is an achievement in its own right that is just absolutely spectacular. We'll get into in spoilers, obviously talking about plot, but in terms of technical achievement, we're talking about action sequences, we're talking about character moments, we're talking about character arcs, we're talking about sound design, we're talking about anything like technically merited, like the score. I see you have a note here for the score by Alan Silvestri, which is top-notch work. Performances we talked about already are exceptional, for people that want to throw this away as it's a comic book movie or it's a superhero movie or whatever. But I think it's something more than that. It's clear that the people making it didn't feel that way. It's clear that the people making it, yeah, it is a superhero movie. Yeah, it is a comic book movie. And yeah, it's not afraid of that. It's not putting their characters in black leather and pretending that it's not based on a comic book. It's going the opposite direction. It's saying, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, we see what you did back in the day, and this is us paying homage to that. This is us doing what you did for readers back in the 60s and doing it for viewers, in this modern era. It's fucking amazing. It's marvelous. So, any other non-spoiler thoughts? Should we jump to recommendation?
Yeah, recommendations.
Yeah, man. I feel like we've gotten on that, but
yeah. So, recommendation. I think we can do a unanimous recommendation to see this in theaters. If anyone wants to dissent, let me know. But you're wrong.
Oh yeah, no. I was just gonna say this is kind of going off what you were saying. I think if you're even remotely interested in this universe, or even just like want to see what it's about, like what are people talking about? Can I like at least watch this and get in on it? Watch Infinity War first, obviously, and then watch this one. If you've seen some other ones here and there, I mean, it's been going on for 11 years now. Like, you probably are somewhat familiar. Like, just go check Infinity War. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah, you're probably not a part of the human race. You're probably an alien.
But like, go be part of the human race and go see this. If you can see it in a big format, IMAX, even better, because it was the whole thing is in the full IMAX aspect ratio. So
I haven't seen an IMAX yet.
You gotta do it, man. You get more of the picture, but
you get all of the picture.
Yeah, this is something to definitely go see in theaters to be part of the human race.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Wow. Avengers Endgame. All right, well, this is normally where we jump into full spoilers for Avengers Endgame, but we've been going for a while already. We've got a whole lot more to say, so we're going to call it here and save that discussion for a future episode, which, also helps us avoid having an episode that does actually stretch longer than the movie itself. So, that's something. Well, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. We are on Patreon doing our series of Game of Thrones bonus episodes, as I talked about earlier in the episode. Seasons 4 and 5 episodes are up on the Patreon right now. 4 should be coming to a regular feed near you very soon. Certainly later this month anyway. We'll be recording on Season 6 very shortly, and with episodes on 7 and 8 to follow. If you want to support us on our Patreon, just head to our website, watchreviewrepeat.com, click the premium tab up in the top left, and click the Become a Patron button. You can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at WRRPod. We are also on Facebook at Watch Review Repeat. If you want to send us any emails, questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that, you can do so by emailing us at watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. I would take this opportunity to say goodbye to Henry and thank him for joining us on this episode, but spoilers, he's going to be around for our next episode on Avengers Endgame, where we talk full spoilers, where we talk every nook and cranny of the 3-hour masterpiece, as I think we've established on this episode. And so let's just say you won't want to miss this one. And fortunately for you, you will not have to wait very long. I can tell you that right now. So until then, we say, take care now, bye-bye then, and laters on the Menjay.